Reuniting with my infuriating ex on a dating show, the host prompted us to greet each other. I couldn't help saying, "It's getting cold. You should keep yourself well covered with soil." A roguish smile tugged at Qi's lips. "That's sweet talk. Are you fishing for a kiss?" Knowing I'd be on the same dating show as Qiu that evening, I dragged his corpse out of my blacklist. Before I could even finish typing a line, his message popped up. Knew tonight would be the day I saw the light of day again. I could practically see his trademark roguish, smug grin right through the screen. I gritted my teeth and typed, "Do you want a double-door coffin or a sliding lid one?" Qiu, that didn't miss a beat. "Daddy wants a double." I stared at the screen. If looks could kill, it would have burned a hole right through, singeing his insolent face. To talk about Qiu and me is to talk about a truly bloody fate. Our relationship was all fire and passion, explosive from start to finish, and our breakup was just as dramatic. Nearly 3 years on, our fans are still at each other's throats, locked in a stalemate of mutual hatred. Truth be told, Qiu and I move in different circles. He's the it boy of the racing world, a world-class driver crowned with glory, ruthlessly captivating fans across all fields. Women adore his looks and reckless charisma. Men admire his dazzling skill. The obsession is equally fierce on all sides. I've been in the entertainment industry for years. I've a reputation for being sharp-tongued and don't suffer fools, carving out a niche in the cold beauty archetype, blatantly wielding my looks as a weapon. With a massive following of wifey fans, the fighting power of both our fan bases is SS tier. For years, they've been trying to take the other side down. Whenever our paths cross in any setting, it's an immediate battlefield. While the fans went at it fiercely, I handled things decisively. Adhering to the principle that exes should be cremated, I swiftly erased all traces of him the moment we broke up, sworn to never have anything to do with each other again. Who would have thought I'd run into this bloody nuisance here? After our brief exchange that night, neither Qiu nor I bothered with the other again, leaving each other as good as dead in our WeChat feeds. That was until I arrived at the hotel for the show's recording. In the dead of night, Qiu's corpse decided to take a stroll again. He sent a reminder, "Remember to wear a mask tomorrow." Qiu lazily tossed back a voice message. "Back then, you cried and swore you'd marry no one but me. Everyone knew. Do you still have the face to face the audience now?" I nearly choked. Yes, back then I fell hard, dizzy with love, and publicly declared more than once that I'd marry no one else. But I also remember him saying he'd marry no one but me. Had he forgotten? I sneered, "And what about you?" This time, he didn't answer immediately. The chat box was still for a moment. A minute later, "Qiu, I'll wear one too." Qiu and I might secretly want to tear each other apart, but when it came to meeting face to face, we were the picture of aloofness. The first official day of recording involved the guests getting to know each other. After I and the other guests had gone through the insincere, smiling ritual of introducing ourselves, Qiu made a late entrance. A very deep male voice. "Qiu the racing driver." I heard the gasps of the female guests, barely containing their excitement. "Wow, he's so handsome." I hadn't intended to look, but my arm was being shaken incessantly by an excited female guest. Frowning, I glanced over. Over the years, I deliberately avoided any news of him. This was effectively the first time I'd seen him since our breakup. In the dim, shifting light, the man, nearly 190 centimeters, stood with long legs and broad shoulders. Dressed casually, his loose, slouchy jumper couldn't hide his excellent physique and muscle definition. The slightly open collar revealed sharp, prominent collarbones, and above them, the distinct point of his Adam's apple. Even in such relaxed attire, he somehow managed to wear it with a flamboyant and sexy recklessness. Unconsciously, I pressed my lips together. I had to admit, he'd matured a lot over the years, toning down some of his unruly edge, gaining a touch of nonchalant laziness. Qiao, it's all an act. I dismissed him, about to subtly look away when my gaze inadvertently met his dark eyes. A brief collision. We had a tacit understanding, offering not a single friendly glance, simultaneously looking away. Humph. As if I care about him. When the new guest arrived, each of the earlier arrivals had to give a brief self-introduction. After the others finished, All eyes turned to me. Pursing my lips, I coldly spat out 2 words. Qiao Qiao. Qiao, looking cool and detached, didn't acknowledge me. He found a seat and sat down. A male guest next to him struck up a conversation. Qiao listened with his head slightly tilted, his expression lazy. I tried hard to restrain the urge to roll my eyes. The bloody wonka was really putting it on. Qiao Laoshi. Sheng Jinyu leaned in closer. Quick, tell me, what's Qiao really like? Sheng Jinyu was the typical big chest, no brains representative in the entertainment industry. We'd worked on a drama together before. Kept in touch sporadically. Maintaining a plastic sisterhood. Her motto. Whether it's a relationship or not doesn't matter, as long as he's good in bed. I had no doubt that even if he was my ex, she'd pick him up without a second thought, completely unburdened. What aspect do you want to know about? I saw right through her. Sheng Jinyu wriggled coquettishly. Oh, you know. Oh. I curved my lips into a smile. Guess why I broke up with him? Why? Zhong Kan Bu Zhong Yong. Looks good but is useless. My voice wasn't loud, but the other female guests nearby had been eavesdropping, and they all heard it. The scene fell into a moment of silence. The female guests unanimously looked towards Qiao. Their gazes were full of pity and sympathy. Qiao noticed them looking and raised his eyes. The female guests awkwardly looked away, starting conversations about other topics. I took a sip of juice and glimpsed 3 big question marks practically floating above Qiao's head. Pressing my lips against the rim of the glass, I let out a quiet, triumphant laugh. Not speaking ill of an ex after a breakup is a virtue. But between Qiao and me, such courtesy didn't exist. Not killing each other was already a nod to past affection. That evening, just after I returned to my hotel room after recording, my WeChat buzzed. Qiao. What do you mean Zhong Kan Bu Zhong Yong? Care to explain? I felt not a shred of shame for gossiping behind his back and replied assertively. It means exactly what it says. Qiao, let me give you a piece of advice. You're in trouble now. Give me a piece of advice? Who did he think he was scaring? I sneered disdainfully. Let me give you a piece of advice. I'll see you buried. A qualified ex should be like the dead, not even attempting a resurrection. Qiao, this bastard, had no concept of avoiding suspicion. I deconfirmed with the production team. Qiao had signed on for this show knowing I had already signed the contract. He didn't lack money, fame, or resources. Choosing to be on the same dating show as me could only mean he was deliberately trying to wind me up. I've always had a flaw. I absolutely cannot stand to be at a disadvantage. Letting him get away with it? Impossible. Qiao was still defiant. To bury your dad, you'd need the status. Who are you? This bloody wonka loved pulling rank on me even when we were dating, and he was still at it. I stabbed at the screen forcefully. Good grandson, I'm your ancestor. After sending the message, I felt stifled. Tossing my phone aside, I went to take a bath. The doorbell rang just as I had stepped out of the bathroom. I opened the door without thinking. Qiao stood outside, arms crossed, a wicked, unrestrained smirk playing on his thin lips. Without a second thought, I tried to slam the door. He saw it coming from a mile away, his arm effortlessly blocking the door, easily stopping me. Leveraging his absolute height and strength, he casually pushed past me and entered the room. Standing hands in pockets in the shadows, he smirked smugly. The moment you twitch your tail, I know what you're thinking. A surge of anger rushed to my head. I fiercely restrained the urge to tear him apart, pointed at the door, and said sharply, "Get out. Now." Seeing me lose my temper only made Qiao calmer. He completely ignored me, sauntered over to the bed, let his gaze sweep around, and as if confirming something, smiled with satisfaction. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. I felt like my chest was about to explode. I took a deep breath to steady myself. If you don't leave now, I'm calling security. What the hell? And he acted like we were so familiar. Qiao turned his head, raising an eyebrow provocatively. Go on, try it. My heart sank. I was done for. He was betting I wouldn't do it. Unless I wanted us both to end up all over Weibo hot search, with some explosive news about rekindling an old flame. Go to hell. Who wanted a scandal with him? Not a chance. During my brief moment of hesitation, Keitha had already boldly planted himself on my bed. His two long, straight legs arrogantly dominated the line of sight. "Come here." He tapped the space beside him on the bed with his long, knuckled fingers. His low, magnetic voice subtly seductive. My body remained rigidly in place. I couldn't explain why, but a bitter taste rose in my heart. During those years we were together, if he stood still and beckoned, I would have rushed over without a second thought. He was used to issuing commanding invitations to me. In the good times, it was a form of flirtation. Now, ... I clenched the hem of my dress tightly, restraining a low roar. "Are you sick? What the hell do you want?" Keitha, as if afraid I wasn't angry enough, said with uninhibited relish. "I am sick. Do you have the cure? ... I'll poison you, you bloody wonker." Keitha chuckled unhurriedly. "Look at you, wanting to kill your dad so badly. Come on, I'll give you a chance." Keitha stood up, straightening to his full height under the light. His body taut like a straight line, bracing himself for the storm. He jerked his chin towards me. "Go on, hit me. I won't fight back." My brow twitched. I looked at him like he was a lunatic. "Can't bear to?" Seeing my reluctance, the smile on his lips turned roguish and wicked. "Or we can try another way to kill me. In bed?" His words hit my ears like a switch being flipped in my heart, triggering a landslide and tidal wave of memories from those intimate years. The past rushed through my mind like a movie on loop. The sour, bitter taste spread, and I actually started to calm down. I tilted my head, looking at my pale fingertips, and sneered coldly. "Who do you think you are? From that night 3 years ago, I've considered you dead. What effort is worth wasting on someone dead in my heart?" These few sentences, light and faint, seemed to knock against Qiao's forehead. His eyes darkened slightly, but he remained relatively composed. "Wasn't it your I'm going to kill you attitude that started all this?" The corner of his mouth still held that untroubled curve. "Trying to play the victim first?" His retort left me breathless, choking on my words. I forced myself to calm down. "Sorry." The apology wasn't exactly sincere, but the intent to sever ties was real. 15 days. For the duration of the show recording, we don't interfere with each other. Neither of us gives the other any grief. Keitha raised an eyebrow, curling his lips nonchalantly. "I'm fine with that. We'll see who loses their cool first." His words, seemingly casual, sounded to me like mockery. He was overly confident and had nothing to fear. He was certain that the one who would crack first would be me. Get out. I was truly afraid I wouldn't be able to hold back and would slap him across the face. Qiao's gaze drifted past the lamplight, landing on nothing in particular. After a long moment, he finally made a move to leave. As he passed me, he paused briefly, a laugh lingering in his tone. "Don't come crying later." "I won't coax you," I retorted defiantly. "I might consider crying at your grave." The low, muffled laugh from his chest reached my ears. The door opened and closed. He was gone. Silence returned. A knot of unresolved anger stuck in my chest, and I collapsed weakly into the sofa. Closing my eyes, Qiao's forever flamboyant and untamable handsome face flashed wildly before my eyes, impossible to shake off. As my consciousness drifted, I vaguely returned to a day many years ago. It was the high school graduation party. A group of young men and women, like birds freed from a cage, went wild. Most of us were a bit unsteady from our first encounter with alcohol. Someone suggested playing Truth or Dare, and in my dazed state I joined in. After a few rounds I lost. Everyone egged me on to confess to a male classmate. Amid the laughter and teasing, my eyes found Qiao. In the dim, hazy light of the KTV room, the floating shadows of the night seemed to cling to his brow and the corners of his eyes. Lazy, reckless, and with a face so dangerously handsome it could steal your soul. Back then, Qiao already stood apart from our bookish crowd. He was into racing, frequented bars, and carried the label of a bad boy. But his family background was solid, and his grades never slipped. No one around could truly control him. While I buried myself in books, shuttling between dance studios and piano lessons, his reputation was already widespread. Flamboyant, wild, and untamable, reckless. Amid a group of giggling, somewhat foolish male classmates, Yiji's badness was somehow more palatable. So I chose him. I like you. Surrounded by waves of laughter, my thin voice sounded hesitant and unsure. Yiji's reaction was muted. He lifted his eyelids lazily to look at me, not saying a word. My heart pounded like a drum, threatening to burst out of my chest. Under his intense, unreadable gaze, I bit my lip and said, I chose Dare. As the disappointed sighs of the watching classmates faded, Qiao lazily uttered an "oh." I thought that was the end of it and sat back down in my seat with my head lowered. The game continued. Qiao, who had initially stayed out of it, unexpectedly joined in. First round. He spun the bottle casually, calm and unhurried. I lost. Everyone looked at him. Wasn't this losing on purpose? He wasn't even trying to hide it. Qiao's expression remained neutral. He stood up, one hand in his pocket. His eyes, tipped with a roguish smile, swept over the 20-plus female classmates. Most of the girls had entertained some fluttery thoughts about Qiao. His single glance made many faces blush. I sat obediently in the corner, never imagining his gaze would find me. But perhaps the gods smiled upon me. I looked up, and Qiao's face was right there in my field of vision. He was half bent over, a sparkling, radiant light in his eyes, a faint smile on his lips. Qiao Tongshu want to go out? His figure blocked the light behind him. I was hidden in his shadow, staring at him dumbly, a bit foolish. I chose truth, he said, lips curving. The boys were whooping, the girls were groaning. In the cacophony of sounds, I was drowning in the sea of his blazing eyes. My chest felt like it was vibrating, and I held my breath without realizing it. Even knowing he was a flame, I still became the moth flying into the fire. The moment I nodded, I was already immersed in the scorching heat. I woke from the dream. Morning light streamed through the window. I had slept curled up on the sofa all night, squinting against the brightness. Inside, I felt empty. The familiar ache of that missing piece still often screamed within me. While my assistant brought the makeup artist to my room, the production team's task card arrived. The first season had 7 units. For the first episode, based on the personalities and partner preferences of all the guests, the 14 male and female guests were paired up for 2-day one-on-one dates. After the 2-day date, both parties could decide to continue dating or choose a new partner. Meaning, the task card I received today contained the name of my date for the next 2 days. Sitting in front of the mirror, I opened the envelope, praying fervently. Please, don't let it be Qiao. Anyone but him. When the characters Qiao appeared in my sight, I couldn't hold back a curse. Bloody hell. What kind of bloody joke was this? Every single criterion I gave the production team for my ideal partner specifically avoided any of Qiao's test traits. How could they still pair us up? Foul play. It had to be foul play. The other guests paired off and boarded the vehicles heading to the program's designated date spots, leaving just Qiao and me standing at the entrance, staring at each other, not going. He gestured towards the people carrier with his chin. With the camera pointed right at me, I couldn't let out my frustration. Maintaining a proper smile, I cursed at him inwardly. Qiao's gaze swept over my face, the corners of his eyes lifting slightly, seeing right through me. He strode onto the bus. Then he sat down by the door, raising an eyebrow. Standing still. Want me to carry you? A wave of disgust hit me. I bit my lip lightly, lifted the hem of my dress, and bent to slip onto the bus like a cat. The black chiffon skirt rustled as it brushed past his legs. Qiao looked down, a faint, deeply amused smile playing on his thin lips. What the hell are you smiling at? I avoided the camera and muttered under my breath about my bad luck. He shot me a meaningful glance. Don't wear this kind of dress in the future. What's it to you? I sat by the window, shot him a dirty look, and turned my face to the scenery outside. Better not look. One more glance and I was afraid I wouldn't be able to stop myself from pouncing on him and biting him. His low, mocking laugh reached my ears, light and quiet, yet peculiarly clear in the enclosed space. I didn't get it and really didn't want to engage with him. For the entire 2-hour-plus journey, I didn't give him a single glance. When I got tired of the view, I curled up in the seat and slept. I was woken by a staff member from the camera crew when the vehicle stopped. The moment my feet hit the ground, I was stunned. Where was the promised romantic resort hotel? Why was it a farmstead? At a glance, a few wooden cabins, connected to a large orchard, next to a patch of freshly ploughed, unplanted wetland. I finally understood why Qiao had told me not to wear this dress when getting in the car. Why is it like this? I glared at him furiously. Qiao raised his lips nonchalantly. Sorry. Bad luck with the draw. Pick the worst one. My brow twitched madly. The curses stuck in my throat. His apology held no sincerity whatsoever. I bet he did it on purpose. Trying to mess with me? In front of the camera, I dared not speak my anger. Qiao looked amused. Not my fault. You wouldn't come down for ages, so I had to do it. So it was my fault. All right, don't be angry. He curved his lips, suddenly exuding a trace of patient, coaxing gentleness. I was just starting to feel surprised when I saw him jerk his chin towards the direction behind me. A wicked smile spreading on his lips. Thirsty? Stay here, don't move. I'll go buy some oranges for you. I didn't react immediately, even stupidly turned to look behind me. There really was an orange stall by the country road, probably a local fruit farmer doing business with passers-by. I saw the cameraman desperately holding back laughter, and then I bloody well realized. Qiao, this bloody wonker, was pulling rank on me. Your mother... The curse almost burst out. I slammed on the brakes, tucking the loose strands of hair behind my ear, masterfully hiding my emotions. I smiled sweetly at him, my red lips moving. No need. But you, with your poor physique, remember to cover yourself with more soil in this cold weather. I don't know which part of my words struck a chord with Qiao. He slightly narrowed his eyes, glinting coldly as he looked at me, menacingly silent. Truth be told, when he gets serious, I do feel a bit guilty. Fragments of the past flashed in my memory. Once, we were playing a game, and it looked like we were going to lose. In desperation, I asked him, "Are you any good or not?" Just that one sentence. He stopped playing the game, threw his phone aside. His eyes were dark as he scolded me. You can call a man bad, but you can't say he's no good. The air was quiet for a long moment. Qiao, acting as if nothing happened, strode off. Let's go, I marveled inwardly. Rare for him not to bite back. The path to the cottage wasn't very wide. I walked carefully in my stiletto heels, holding my skirt, my gaze unconsciously falling on the back striding ahead. The weather wasn't particularly clear. Thin golden light leaked through the clouds, casting a halo on his white shirt. As he moved, his shoulders seemed draped with golden wings. He had always been the dazzling, favored son of heaven, proud, even when we broke up and I was making a heart-wrenching scene. He could still look at me with aloof indifference, not uttering a word, as if I was the only one being undignified. Preoccupied, I got distracted. My foot caught on something. The heels were too high and thin for me to steady myself. My body wobbled uncontrollably, then tipped sideways. Qiao. Almost instinctively, I screamed his name in panic. Qiao's steps halted. In my panicked vision, I saw him turn around. Without pause, he quickly turned back, reaching out to grab me. Splat. I fell into the muddy field. Murky water splashed everywhere. My clothes, face, even strands of my hair were dripping with muddy water. In just a second or two, I went from a glamorous, beautiful celebrity to a muddy mess sitting in a field. The wind whistled through. Wilderness trees rustled. The world was clearly noisy, but I felt it was utterly silent. The first looked at his own hand, suspended in mid-air. Then he jumped down into the muck. Another splash of... I was drenched head to face again. Couldn't even open my eyes. Qiao. I recovered from the social death. In a collapsed state, Qiao crouched down to eye level with me, saying irritably, "It's not like you didn't know I was a bastard already. Look at your silly self, not watching the path." My chest heaved violently. I couldn't speak. He reached out to help me up, frowning. "Are you hurt anywhere?" "I'm hurt in my heart." I was crash. This would absolutely become an inescapable black mark on my acting career. Qiao was angered into a laugh by me, but still kept his voice low, coaxing. "My fault. Blame me for not catching you. Let's get up first, all right? I was close to tears. It's no use saying anything now. It's humiliating. He was patient. We're both humiliated. You're not alone. Who wants to be humiliated with you? What kind of logic was that? I turned my face away, not wanting to deal with him. Don't be so dramatic. My face had just turned away when a force lifted me. I struggled, flustered in panic, but he still held me steadily in his arms. Keither looked down, his voice laced with a warning laugh. This bastard might not be able to guarantee what he'll do. I was disobey, but I didn't dare move. Seeing me glare at him, he raised an eyebrow. Good. Shut up. I closed my eyes, out of sight, out of mind. Where should I put my hands? Hold on to me. His tone was quite serious. If you fall down later, you'll just cry again. In your dreams. I closed my eyes, deliberately pretending not to hear. The sound of muddy water dripping. Qi's steps gradually quickened. Several times I almost slipped out of his arms. This bloody wonka. Another violent jolt. Scared, I instinctively burrowed deeper into his embrace. The moment my arms hooked around his neck, I saw the triumphant smile in his eyes. Gritting my teeth, I tightened my fingers around his neck, my nails scratching his skin. Qiva seemed unfazed, but his voice grew hoarse. Asking for trouble? I knew this kind of overt emotion of his all too well. A precursor to something. I pressed my lips together and completely settled down. The moment we entered the house, I immediately broke free from his arms and, like a headless fly, scurried around looking for the bathroom. The two simple rooms were tiny, and the bath. I spent over an hour tidying myself up. No hairdryer. I walked out, my hair still wet and dripping. Keither was standing on the open ground in front of the door, on the phone. His tone was lazy and relaxed. His clothes had dried, leaving behind caked mud. Despite being dirty and disheveled, his posture remained composed, not a bit embarrassed. I secretly pursed my lips and moved over to the cameraman. Big brother, can you please not edit that part in? A square face peeked out from behind the camera. Grinning. Qiao Laoshi. The contract states. What you see is what you get. My face darkened. I turned to leave. Fine, just air that part then. Nothing more to film. I didn't even feel like waiting for my hair to dry. They couldn't possibly film me sleeping, right? Holding on to the thought of avoiding the cameras. Even though the room was excessively dark and crude, I still made the bed, curled up under the covers, and planned to sleep until the next day. The reality felt very bony. When I was fished out of the quilt, I was disoriented. A warm breath brushed past my ear, followed by a teasing, deep chuckle. Do you still need me to carry you to go eat? I instantly got goosebumps and was fully awake. How did you get in? I scrambled to the far side of the bed using both hands and feet, staring wide-eyed at the figure in the darkness. Qi straightened up beside the bed. I knocked. And so? Keither, I have a key. This was something I had never expected. Before sleeping, I had very carefully checked the doors and windows, made sure they were all locked before feeling at ease going to bed. I'm not eating. Get out. Keither crossed his arms, looking down at me for a while from his height. The darkness. I held my ground silently. I was just surprised he was being so reasonable when he sat down on the bed. Eating alone is boring. He lay down on the upper half of the bed, tugging a bit of the quilt over himself. Sleeping together is more fun. Keither. I couldn't control the tremor in my voice. In the darkness, his tone was casual. I'm here. Speak. I took a deep breath. We've already broken up. Please mind your boundaries. Oh. Lightly. His indifferent attitude, no different from before, truly angered me. My nails dug deeply into my skin. Forcing myself to control my emotions, I asked coldly, What do you mean? In the wilderness, far from the city, sparse stars were faintly visible. Moonlight crept in through the window lattice, clear and bright, illuminating a corner. Qi's voice was like the moonlight, falling gently and softly. Qiao Qiao, can you take care of me again? This kind of plea, resembling surrender, didn't leave me untouched. But more than that, it was laughable, mixed with countless past heartaches. I knew from the very beginning that Keither, in his youth, was wild, indulgent, and untamable. His world was too full of glamour and revelry. He raced cars, with a crazy intensity etched into his bones. Girls who coveted him came and went. Although I never saw him fall for any of them, he still carried a certain unrestrained air of romantic entanglements. Someone labeled as such a prominent figure. Watching from afar, one might relish talking about it as an interesting spectacle. But truly giving him your heart was destined to lead to ruin. That night at the KTV, during Truth or Dare, even though I knew taking a step forward might be an abyss, I still nodded. From then on, a huge tear was ripped in my peaceful life, impossible to smooth over. In everyone's eyes, I was the well-behaved, gentle child. From childhood, I had never done a single rebellious thing. Being with Qiao overturned everyone's impression of me. For those few years, I desperately tried to integrate into his life, sat in the passenger seat of his car, dyed my hair, secretly got his initials tattooed on my chest. I was immersed to an excessive degree. Qiao would frown and say he liked me better as I was before. So I would pull myself back, obediently playing the sweet, gentle lady for him. Countless nights he didn't come home. Countless times there were rumors of flings with so-and-so. He forgot our anniversary, and even on my birthday, he could leave me alone, sitting by a cake all night. Say he didn't care. I was the only girl in his social circle. His phone wallpaper was me. He had my initials tattooed on his chest. For the missed anniversaries and birthdays, he would make them up to me over and over, owing his head to coax me happy. Once, a friend joked that this wasn't like the style of a young master like him. He disdainfully laughed and uttered that classic line. Two great ideals in life, racing cars and loving Qiao Qiao. The friends laughed. When the words reached my ears, they took on a different flavor. Maybe it's being sentimental, but racing would always come first in his heart. As time went on, I began to feel like a canary he kept in a cage. In his absence, I waited uncomplainingly. When he returned, weary, I threw myself into his passionate embrace. Resentment accumulated gradually. I argued with him. He was always patient, letting me finish my tantrum before soothe me. He was always reckless in our relationship, holding the dominance, calm and nonchalant. Love doesn't disappear, but it can eventually shatter into countless pieces, scattering everywhere. The final outcome was a clean break. For a long time, even when utterly collapsed, I still held on to the hope that the prodigal would return, thinking he would eventually moor himself one day. Later, my heart was the first to fall apart. The one time I brought up breaking up was also the last time. I didn't look back. These past few years, my life has been all about work. So busy the world went dark. But when I occasionally stopped, even an empty thought would make my eyes burn red. Was it regret? No. It's just that whenever I thought of him, I always had a very strong feeling. It was as if I poured all my love into it, while Qiao only loved me in his spare time. So pointless. Outside the window, insects chirped in the fields. Returning to the present from the not-so-distant memory, I felt my heart was like this bleak, pale moonlight, desolate and powerless. I curled my lips in a sarcastic smile. Qiao, I just find it all so bloody pointless. By the end of that night, neither of us had the energy to force any kind of resolution. Age must have mellowed him. Qiao's temper had settled, his thoughts grown more inscrutable. I didn't know what he was thinking, but I believed he understood the deeper meaning in my words. Perhaps he truly did. When we met again the next day, we were both perfectly normal. It was as if last night never happened. We did what we had to do, smiked at each other when we felt like it, and the atmosphere between us lightened considerably. We set off back to the hotel at noon, and I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. For the next few episodes, as long as I didn't choose him, we wouldn't have to cross paths. So that evening, without hesitation, I wrote the name of a familiar male actor on the selection card and secretly sent him a message, asking him to play along. Joe Ewer and agreed readily, adding teasingly at the end, "Aren't you afraid I might take the pretense for real?" I typed back nonchalantly, "Remember our comrade-in-arms friendship. We shed no tears for love, only lose sleep for fame." That's right. Joe Ewer and I had known each other since our debut, climbing from tiny roles to lead actors together. Our shared understanding was, only idiots fall in love. Over the years, we'd had our share of dating rumors, all thoroughly debunked by our respective fans. Don't even cue them. Big bro and sis are focused on their careers. Waking up in the morning, I received the task card. Successfully paired with Zhou Yayan. I felt relieved. But soon I was dealt another heavy blow. At the group gathering in the hall, guests who hadn't found a mutual match could freely form new pairs. Sheng Jinyu, upholding her philosophy of don't believe the rumors, still firmly chose Keither. The latter lowered his eyelashes, his expression indifferent, and didn't refuse. When the production team announced the rule of paired CPs going on dates together, Sheng Jinyu grabbed my arm. Little Qiao Qiao, let's team up. She was the type who loved playing with fire. The more excitement, the better. You don't mind me being with Keither, do you? Her red lips held a meaningful smile. Why the hell would I mind? Whatever. To prove my utter magnanimity, I agreed. Sheng Jinyu giggled. Good on you, a true sister. Zhou Yian, standing nearby, turned to mock Sheng Jinyu. Are you out of your mind? You'd even go for your sister's ex? You know nothing. Sheng Jinyu elegantly rolled her eyes. Men are like products. They all need to pass through the quality inspector's hands before leaving the factory. Makes using them much more reassuring. So, I was the quality inspector now? Soon, facts proved that a 4-person date was indeed more excitement. The first day's itinerary: mountain climbing. My most hated form of exercise. Perhaps even more hateful was Sheng Jinyu chirping around Keither the whole way. Tired? Thirsty? Keither maintained his usual young master demeanor, aloof and cold, but that did nothing to dampen Sheng Jinyu's fiery enthusiasm. Every stretch of the way, Sheng Jinyu would eagerly pull out water to offer Keither, or take out a tissue to wipe his sweat. Their interaction was as if no one else was there. I was quite calm at first, but as we walked, perhaps because the mountain path was too steep, my heart gradually started pounding and I grew irritated. To escape the incessant noise around me, I quickened my pace, not caring if I was on camera. Apart from dancing, I resisted all other exercise. In the past, when Keither took me hiking, I would act up every 10 meters, dawdling and refusing to move. He said my physical fitness was poor, and when it came to exercise, he never indulged me. Every time I refused to walk, he had endless patience to wait me out until under his stern, severe gaze, I climbed step by step to the summit. Only then would his brow relax, and he'd rub my head and praise me. Well done. Now, standing at the peak, I kicked a pebble at my feet, muttering darkly, well done, my ass. Zhou Yian, followed by the panting cameraman, caught up to me and plopped down beside me, complaining in a low voice. Slow down. Are you rushing to be reborn? I retorted irritably. You're a grown man, so slow. Aren't you ashamed? Ha! Zhou Yian was angered into a laugh, then noticed my foul mood and shuffled closer. What's wrong? Who lit your fuse? Before I could speak, 2 figures strolled leisurely up the boardwalk. Sheng Jinyu was talking animatedly, Keither nodding as he listened. The atmosphere lively and harmonious. Oh, I see. Zhou Yian smiled understandingly. I glared at him. What do you see? Either you haven't gotten over the old flame, or the scene stirred old feelings. Which one is it? I paused, pulling out all stops on my sarcasm. You're the one who hasn't gotten over an old flame. As for the scene stirring old feelings, you only qualify for 2 characters of that phrase. Note: the 2 characters are touch scene, which phonetically can sound like animal. Zhou Yian didn't catch on immediately, staring at me dumbly. As the behind me, Zhou Yian let out a roar. Qiao Hao, you bitch. Who are you calling an animal? I curved my lips in pleasure, feeling comfortable as I entered the main temple hall. Behind a table inside sat a monk, hands clasped, smiling. Patron, have you come to seek a lot? I returned the greeting. I had originally come just to pay respects to the Buddha and find some quiet, not particularly interested in fortune sticks. I was about to refuse when someone bumped my shoulder. Sheng Jinyu craned her neck. Since we're here, let's get a fortune. Master, we'd like to ask about predestined marriage. I shot her a look. Do you need to ask Buddha about your love life? With her seductive skills, even Buddha would feel inadequate. Come on, don't be a spoilsport. Here, let's do it together. The master smiled slightly. Then please, Both patrons, write down the name of the person you fancy, then go before the Buddha to seek the result. Sheng Jinyu, full of enthusiasm, waved her hand and boldly wrote, Qi. I remained silent, feeling an indescribable tightness in my chest. Sheng Jinyu, not caring that I hadn't written anything, handed me a cylinder of fortune sticks and pulled me down to kneel before the Buddha. Watching her devoutly shaking the cylinder, I quietly pressed my lips together. Ah, the most auspicious lot. Sheng Jinyu picked up the stick that had fallen out and excitedly showed it to the master. A thought stirred in me. My hand moved almost of its own accord. Seeing the bamboo stick roll on the ground, I felt a flicker of nervousness. Picking it up, I turned it over, the least auspicious lot. I stared at those 3 characters, momentarily lost. See? Even Buddha knows we have no predestined relationship. A pale, slender hand appeared in my line of sight, plucking the worst lot from my grasp and deftly slipping it back into the cylinder. I looked up. Qiao was half crouched beside me, his face expressionless as he handed me the cylinder. Shake it a few more times. You can do that? Qiao's eyes held a sparkling, flowing light, his tone persuasive. Keep my name in your heart, shake it a few more times. You'll definitely get the most auspicious lot. I gave him a cool glance and scoffed. You think it's like buying groceries, that you can pick and Qiao was unbothered. The tip of his brow lit. Damn. Screw your my fate is mine to master. I refused to shake it. The moment I made to stand up, he pressed down on my shoulder. He was quite persistent, raising an eyebrow provocatively. What's wrong? Scared. I knew he was provoking me, and I refused to play along. We held our ground silently. Behind us, Zhou Yian and Sheng Jinyu had their heads together, whispering. Zhou Yian. I don't know about you, but I have a feeling. Sheng Jinyu. Me too. You say it first. Zhou Yian paused thoughtfully, then slowly said, I feel like I'm just a middleman. Brother, kindred spirit. Sheng Jinyu patted his shoulder. Yes. We're both just the intermediaries in someone else's love story. Me. Are you all this hilarious? Making me look like a country bumpkin. I glared at Qiao and shoved the cylinder directly into his arms. Shake it yourself if you want to. Let's negotiate. Sheng Jinyu's head popped between Qiao and me. Zhou Yian and I don't want to break you up now. I rose to my feet using my knees and walked off on my own. I was quite a way ahead when Zhou Yian finally caught up. Not waiting for them. I stared ahead as I descended the steps, not speaking. Qiao is still shaking the fortune sticks. Huh. I hadn't expected him to actually take on that worst lot I drew. Was he so sure that I was thinking of him when I shook the cylinder? We walked on for a while longer. Zhou Yian looked back several times, but still couldn't see Qiao and Sheng Jinyu. Seeing him crane his neck like that, I couldn't resist teasing him. What? Have you taken a liking to Sheng Jinyu? The cameraman nearby, sensing gossip, quietly moved the lens closer. Zhou Yian stopped on a landing, planting his hands on his hips as he glared at Qiao Qiao. That's not very decent of you. What did I do? I spread my hands innocently. Be a decent person, will you? I have no such intention. I never thought about rekindling the old flame, nor about using anyone as a shield. Big bro, step back a bit. Zhou Yian waved dismissively for the camera to pull back, then scrutinized me for a moment. Qiao Qiao, I have to tell you, Zhou Yian adopted the posture of an elder brother lecturing someone. Even Buddha says, if there were no debts from past lives, how would we meet in this one? You and Qiao still have predestined relationship. The cameraman's gossip heart was burning, and he started edging forward again. I asked, amused. Which Buddha said that? Zhou Yian. He was seriously annoyed. You must have been a champion-level arguer in your past life. You're so good at nitpicking. It's pointless. Not only was this topic pointless, after the second episode finished recording, the thought of quitting crossed my mind. That night, I called my aide. After Susie finished yelling, hearing my prolonged silence, he softened his tone. Qiao Qiao, you need to understand. Right now your fans and Qiaos are at each other's throats. His side insists you join the show because of him. The situation is clear. Between you and Qiao, whoever leaves first is admitting a guilty conscience. Oh. So you're saying I have to fight it out with him to see who wins? My brother Suzy was famous for being back when I was still a soft, delicate little artist, and anti-fans attacked me. I could barely muster a retort. Suzy wouldn't stand for it. He'd roll up his sleeves and take them on himself. His record: 36 hours straight arguing with anti-fans, no sleep, winning fame in one battle. Anti-fans came and went, but Brother Sue remained steadfast. He instead left those anti-fans baffled, conceding defeat and begging him to go to sleep before he worked himself to death. Hence later, when my usual sharp tongue emerged, the anti-fans were used to it. Anyone under Brother Sue's wing is no pushover. We have to see who wins. Suzy was deeply convinced. Our fans have been fighting his for so many years. We can't lose. I rolled over, looking through the sheer curtains at the heavy night outside. My mood somewhat complex. Fighting with Qiao though was one thing, but in front of others, I always wanted to maintain some dignity. So after we parted, I never mentioned him, not a single word, until this dating show encounter. Perhaps suppressed for too long, meeting again made me see red. You're not. Suzy grew suspicious. Still hung up on him, are you? Hearing this, I frowned imperceptibly. The thick night seeped into my eyes, and I felt inexplicably suffocated. Suzy was practically hopping mad on the other end. Qiao Qiao, wake up. Don't let him enchant you again. He's got powerful backing. He can play a game and walk away unscathed. You can't afford to play. That was the truth. A young master like Qiao could withdraw without a scratch. I would have to suffer broken bones. Not worth it. Suzy repeatedly warned me. I'm not an unreasonable agent. Just this once, you can date anyone you want on the show. Except Qiao. Not interested. Annoyed by the pestering, I hung up directly. The moment the doorbell rang, I had a premonition it was Qiao. So I lay still, not moving. He, with his usual persistence, wouldn't leave if I didn't open the door. In the deep silence of the night, the doorbell was especially abrupt. If I didn't move soon, the whole floor would know Qiao was at my door. I grabbed the remote and opened the door, not bothering to get up. When Qiao entered, he was wearing a black windbreaker, as if he'd just come from outside, his hair tips damp with the autumn chill. In the dim orange light, he stretched out his hand towards me. A flat, long lot with vermilion characters. Number 81. The most auspicious lot. I looked up in disbelief. Qiao had reigned in the usual arrogance in his features. His dark eyes held an indescribable, determined heat. You went up the mountain in the middle of the night to get a bloody fortune stick. After all those years together, I never knew he had such devotion to Buddha. Was it that I never truly knew him, or was he possessed? Qiao's expression was devout. Qiao Qiao, we are not the worst lot. Meaning, he was determined to prove that between him and me, it was the most auspicious match. A tumult of conflicting emotions churned in my chest. I couldn't distinguish what I was feeling, only finding it both absurd and painful. The master said, "The number 81 most auspicious lot means the person you seek is right before your eyes." He gently took my wrist and placed the lot in my palm. My hand trembled uncontrollably. I stared rigidly at the Buddhist lot in my hand. The air congealed. I abruptly shook off his hand. "Qiao, you're insane." The lot fell from my hand and hit him. A storm roared in my heart. Bringing up the past inevitably reopened old wounds. My words turned ugly. "What's the point of you doing this?" He remained silent, the depths of his eyes dark and still. "Don't you think it's ridiculous?" I was nearly shouting. "Our breakup had nothing to do with Buddha. Stop being so childish, will you?" I could hardly imagine this was something he would do. The unruly young master, indifferent to everything, also had this naive side. Qiao stood there quietly, letting me finish my outburst, then bent to pick up the lot. The dim, swaying light played over his lowered brows and eyes. Warmth touched the depths of his gaze, gentle and radiant, yet not half as tender as the lingering affection in his voice. "Qiao Qiao, 1013 days. I've thought of you every single day." The earnestness in his deep gaze was pious. "I listened to you. I worked hard to become a better man, before I dared come find you." His words seemed to echo, winding around my heart, leaving a sour, bitter taste upon reflection. I wanted to laugh, but my eyes grew hot. In the end, unable to vent my emotions, he leaned in cautiously, carefully opening his arms. I stood rigidly as he pulled me into an embrace. His voice was low and hoarse by my ear, like an illusion. Qiao Qiao, give me one more chance, please. Tears welled up in my eyes instantly. It was just that all the grievances from those years felt completely soothed in this moment. For a long time after the breakup, I was trapped in a whirlpool of self-doubt, wondering if I wasn't good enough. If I was too petty. If I hadn't loved enough. But that wasn't it. I had loved him so passionately back then. No matter how many grievances I couldn't voice, I still mustered the courage to rush in like a moth to a flame. I wanted to stay by his side. I wanted to walk further with him. Suzy once told me something that remains etched in my memory to this day. He said, "Qiao Qiao, it's not that you weren't good enough. It's that the person you loved didn't deserve the love you gave." Lovers often argue fiercely over trivial matters. When love is unequal and one person feels wronged, a crack forms between the two. "Qiao Qiao, don't cry." He reached out to wipe my tears, patiently comforting me. I pushed him away forcefully, turned around, and wiped my eyes. After the emotional dam burst, my heart felt strangely lighter. Perhaps it was relief. "You should go," I heard myself say, my voice hoarse and broken. I was truly heartbroken. I've always believed that people who have truly loved once possessed shining qualities that captivated the other. Even after parting, sorrow is inevitable. He didn't move, stubbornly staying where he was. I glanced sideways at the mirror on the table. In its clear surface, my eyes were red, my distress unmistakable. With a swift motion, I hurled a glass bottle of skincare toner at the mirror. Shards clattered to the floor. Qi Yi's expression shifted instantly. Instinctively, he reached out to shield me. I dodged to the window, meeting his gaze coldly. Once a mirror is broken, it loses its value. No one wants a shattered mirror. Using it again only risks getting cut. Qi stared intently at the fragments on the table. I firmly believe that broken mirrors can be mended. There must be meaning in that. I raised my voice sharply. Mending a broken mirror inevitably means risking the pain of repeating the same mistakes. Qi, I don't trust you. People are often like this. They have the courage to love like moths to a flame, but not the confidence to mend what's broken. Qi slowly lifted his head. Under the light, the corners of his eyes reddened again and again. I turned away, unwilling to watch. Even if old feelings remain between two people, once trust shatters, it can't be rebuilt with just a few words. We both understood this truth. The night was thick and silent, much like his silence. After all, he was always so proud. For him to humble himself to this extent must have taken countless struggles. But when fervent love is met with a douse of cold reality, the strength to keep clinging on simply vanishes. He picked up a shard of the mirror, gazed at it for a long time, and left. That night, I didn't sleep a wink. When my assistant came in the next morning, she was startled at the sight of me. "Sister Qiao, why are your eyes so swollen?" Of course, I wouldn't tell her I'd been crying. I shook my head, unwilling to explain. After finishing my makeup, I went to the gathering hall. The production team announced that Qi had withdrawn from the show. For a moment, the guests exchanged glances, then turned their eyes to me in unison. There was no way I could explain this either. Suzy once said that whichever of us, Qi or me, quit first, would be the one with a guilty conscience. Now that the outcome was clear, I didn't feel particularly triumphant. On the contrary, it felt deeply ironic. How did a matter between two people end up being laid bare for public scrutiny? Forced into a competition of wins and losses? There are no winners. After Qi left the show, Sheng Jinyu was visibly upset and complained to me several times. Even if you don't want him, did you have to make him quit? At least when he was here, it was nice to look at him. She complained, but that didn't stop her from seeking new romantic prospects. By the end of the first season, 2 couples had formed. Sheng Jinyu was getting particularly close to a well-built model younger than her. During the final confession episode, Sheng Jinyu moved everyone to tears with her dramatic declaration of finally having found the right one. Zhou Yan quietly grumbled to me, "Just watch. She announced her breakup within a month." Zhou Yan really knows her stuff. Her prediction was spot on. An hour before the episode aired, at 8 p.m., Sheng Jinyu showed up at my place, sobbing pitifully. Before that, I'd been curled up at home, nervously watching the preview clips released by the production team. Just the teasers featuring Kiva and me from the first 2 episodes had already set our fans into a frenzy, with casual viewers eagerly joining in. Given the buzz, once the actual episodes aired, it was bound to be a bloodbath. Suzy called again to ask, should we put out a clarification statement first? We could always pin the blame on the production team if needed. A nervous twitch pulsed at my temple. Let's wait and see. Before hanging up, Suzy reminded me, remember to turn off your private messages. Right after the call ended, Sheng Jinyu arrived. She sat on my sofa, crying endlessly. I couldn't pass her tissues fast enough to keep up with her tears. Seeing no end in sight, I couldn't help asking, did someone blow up your fish pond? Miss Sheng Jinyu, a veritable romance connoisseur, had had more relationships than acting roles. Was it really possible she was crying this hard over love? It didn't seem normal. It was downright strange. Why, you have no heart, she hiccuped, accusing me through her tears. How can you mock me when I'm this heartbroken? I shut my mouth. I finally tried taking a relationship seriously. And this is how it ends. Her sobs grew louder. Her makeup was a mess, streaked haphazardly across her face. He dumped you. I was genuinely shocked. In Sheng Jinyu's relationships, she was always the one who lost interest first. No one ever dumped her. My question only made her cry harder, as if her heart were breaking into pieces. What did he do to you? Sheng Jinyu wailed. I have a fish pond, but he has a whole ocean. I looked at her sympathetically. Well, a pond keeper can't really compete with an ocean king. It's pretty normal. Just forget him and move on, the next one will be better. The dating show started on TV, sending Sheng Jinyu into full meltdown. Turn it off! Turn it off! I don't want to see him. I had no choice but to turn off the TV. The show isn't even over yet, so I can't even announce the breakup. This is so damn frustrating. I couldn't fully relate to how frustrated she felt, but soon enough, I started feeling pretty frustrated myself. Suzy had told me to turn off my private messages, but with Sheng Jinyu's crying fit, I'd completely forgotten. Once the episode aired, my Weibo notifications exploded. Thousands of Qiao's fans swarmed in, pelting me with endless messages, all with the same theme. Shameless. Stop clinging to RB. The private messages kept pouring in, and the comments section was even more chaotic. Qiao's fans cursed, my fans cursed back, and onlookers just enjoyed the drama. The top liked comment read, fight, fight, fight. Who needs love? A good catfight is way more entertaining. Sheng Jinyu's period of mourning for her lost love ended surprisingly quickly. In the blink of an eye, she was scrolling through the comments and laughing. Haha, you're so unlucky. They're tearing into you, saying you don't know what's good for you. My chest tightened. They also say you re-pretending, that you re-actually totally into him, but just acting tough. Sheng Jinyu, thrilled by the drama, eagerly asked, as the person involved, care to comment? Is what they're saying true? I wasn't in the mood for jokes. I stared at the rapidly scrolling comments for a long time. Hey, are you actually upset? Sheng Jinyu leaned closer. Working in this industry, we've seen it all. Don't take it to heart. Of course, I could choose not to take it to heart. But some things just stick with you. I muttered vaguely. The first part is true. The second part isn't. I had been totally into him back then, but now, I wasn't just acting tough. Huh? Sheng Jinyu looked confused. What are you mumbling? What's true? What's not? I ignored her. My slender fingers flew across the screen as I posted a new Weibo update. Then I immediately powered off. I'm going to sleep. See yourself out later. I tossed my phone onto the sofa and headed into the bedroom. Sheng Jinyu shrieked. You actually dared to post on Weibo at a time like this? She read my post aloud dramatically, then exclaimed, Girl, you've got some nerve. Lying there in my Weibo feed was a single, short sentence. The wise avoid love's river. The fool treads the same path twice. There was no need for Suzy to issue some long, elaborate clarification statement. It would have been troublesome and unconvincing anyway. I wasn't that young girl anymore, the one who would secretly wipe away her tears when hurt. They speculated about that past relationship, argued over who was more invested, weighed the pros and cons. searched for evidence of who loved more and who loved less, and then inevitably concluded I wasn't good enough. Well, if our statuses didn't match and I supposedly wasn't good enough, then fine, I wasn't good enough. But I refused to be the fool anymore. The next morning, I stretched and walked out of my bedroom, only to freeze at the sight of two people in my living room. Sleep well. The handsome, refined-looking man crossed his legs leisurely. Susie stood behind him, usually so bold and assertive, now shrinking back like a lamb headed for slaughter. It took me a moment to collect myself before I nodded. Pretty good. Slept through the night. The man toyed with the phone I'd left on the sofa last night, a faint, gloomy smile playing at his lips. Qiao, this guy always loved playing the deep, mysterious type. Susie, from behind him where he couldn't see, frantically signaled to me, mouthing the words, "He's angry." Oh. I reacted indifferently, walked to the bar to pour a glass of water, and said hesitantly, "Next time you come to my place, could you give me a heads up first?" Even though one was my boss and the other my agent, letting themselves into my home while I was still asleep wasn't right. Susie looked utterly despairing at my words. I understood his body language. At a time like this, and you're worried about that. Fine. I'll let it slide this time. But next time, be more considerate. Susie stared at me, dumbfounded. Qiao Qiao. Qiao leaned back on the sofa, his voice low. How should we handle this? Handle what? I watched him hold up my phone, confused. Susie glared at me furiously but didn't dare speak, still mouthing. Weibo. Weibo. Got it. I'd just woken up and hadn't checked my phone yet. I guess the Weibo post I'd made last night had caused another uproar, which was expected. Come on, explain it to me. Qiao tapped the phone rhythmically. Who's the wise one? And who's the fool? I really wanted to say, what's it to you? But since he was my boss, I softened my tone. It's not aimed at anyone specific. I just wanted to make it clear that I refuse to be the fool. So, you want to be the wise one? Are you serious? I've always felt that every time I look at Qiao, there's something almost supernatural in those narrow eyes of his behind his glasses. Like right now, he wasn't smiling, yet his face somehow conveyed a faint, mocking slyness. You're the one who set up this persona. It's too late to backtrack now. What the? This counts as setting up a persona. Qiao elaborated smoothly. You should know how disastrous it can be when a popular actress's persona collapses. So, he pushed his glasses up his nose with a slender finger. You'll have to sign an additional agreement. After all that beating around the bush, he finally revealed his purpose. I smiled calmly and asked, what are the terms? A faint smile appeared on Qiao's face. No dating for 3 years. That was utterly absurd. But then again, 3 years was exactly when my management contract expired. Qiao waved his hand. Sign it if you agree. Susie immediately presented a contract and shoved a pen into my hand. I almost laughed. What kind of nonsense was this? Scared. Qiao raised an eyebrow. It was those 2 words, that tone, it eerily reminded me of Qi that day in the temple. They were so similar. I shook my head slightly to dispel the unwelcome thought, and skimmed through the contract. It was straightforward terms and a penalty clause, with a hefty fine. I bit my lip, both annoyed and amused. Qiao, you've truly taken every merchant is a shrewd manipulator to heart. I'll take that as a compliment. Fine. I quickly signed my name. Only an idiot would fall in love. Qiao's face darkened slightly. Even if you don't date, there's no need to insult everyone who does. I'd heard rumors before whispers that Qiao had recently taken a liking to some girl. Reportedly quite feisty. For a while, that sleek, sophisticated Qiao had sported scratches on his face and neck. The girl had a fierce temper, yet he seemed to enjoy it. I couldn't resist teasing him. You're just a masochist. Qiao stood up, took the contract, and didn't bother arguing. It's normal for an ethereal fairy like you not to understand the pleasures of us mere mortals. TCH? I scoffed dismissively. I'd already waded through the bitter waters of mortal love long ago. In recent years, I genuinely embraced a life of tranquility, to the point where Qiao often said to me, "You're such a dull woman." His taste had always been consistent, beautiful, fiery, and bold. Yu Zhizhou, you'll get your comeuppance one day. I doubt it. Yu Zhizhou was brimming with confidence. Finally, he smiled meaningfully. But there is one thing I do believe. I asked, what? I can make a fortune off this contract. In your dreams. Yu Zhizhou didn't argue further and left, satisfied. Suzy, ever the lackey, escorted him downstairs before returning. He pointed at me, wanting to scold me, fuming but couldn't get a word out for a long time. Whatever. What's done is done. No use saying anything now. He waved his hand, his expression shifting from helplessness to pity. I have 2 pieces of news for you. I looked down at my phone's startup screen, waiting for him to continue. First, Qiao announced his retirement from the racing world last night. No more competitions, and he won't be entering the entertainment industry either. My finger, swiping across the screen, froze. Over the years, he'd indeed achieved a grand slam, glory heaped upon glory. But racing was in his blood. He shone on the track. How could he give it up? Second, he posted another Weibo update in the early hours of the morning. Suzy saw the content on my phone screen and realized he didn't need to elaborate further. At 2 a.m., Qiao had posted the only Weibo message ever related to his personal life. The words were concise and direct. I asked to get back together. Got rejected. Still pursuing. Everyone, please don't interfere. I couldn't imagine what state he was in when he typed those words. Was he drunk in the middle of the night? Qiao humbling himself to reconcile was already beyond my expectations. Publicly stating he wanted to win me back. That went against everything about his rebellious, untamable playboy image. I was stunned for 3 or 4 whole minutes before I started scrolling through the comments. This was probably the first time since our breakup that the comment section was so peaceful. My fans were overjoyed, celebrating and reveling in the victory. Qiao's fans, especially the ones who used to cause the most trouble, had fallen silent. The remaining ones were tearfully offering their support. No one was cursing me out. For a moment, it felt almost unreal. Suzy said with vindictive satisfaction, "The years-long war is finally over. We won." I turned off my screen and looked at him. There was never going to be a winner. The world argued and celebrated, insisting on declaring a winner between Qiao and me, undoubtedly because they believed whoever cared more was the pathetic loser. But judging a relationship by wins and losses not only dismisses the sincerity we once offered, but also negates the meaning of those years we shared. Someone you once loved passionately, whether a blessing or a lesson, should hold significance. Why do you still look upset? Zizi couldn't understand. Have you forgotten those 5 years of your youth that were devoured by a dog? I couldn't explain why, but it felt like something heavy had slammed into my chest, making it hard to breathe. Gazing out the floor-to-ceiling window at the overcast, oppressive sky, I struggled to speak. Those 5 years, they were my youth, but they were his too. As Qiao withdrew from the racing world and faded from the public eye, the chatter about us gradually died down. The audience dispersed, the story turned the page, and everything seemed to settle into place. One night, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. I got up and browsed through my friends' social media feeds, inadvertently stumbling upon a post from Qiao. No caption, just a single photo. A road stretching through vast, windswept wilderness under a fierce sky. The highway vanishing into an endless horizon. The location tag pointed to a remote mountainous area in Xinjiang. Seemed like he'd taken his racing team on an expedition through uninhabited territory. That was just like him. Freedom was ingrained in his bones. He probably couldn't stop himself from seeking out extreme challenges. I rolled over, about to try and sleep, when my phone, which I just set down, rang with an urgent, sharp trill. It was my home number. A call in the middle of the night instantly put me on edge. Auntie was sobbing uncontrollably on the other end. "Your dad. He fell down the stairs last night. He's in the hospital. You need to come back, quick." My heart went cold. I scrambled out of bed. Flustered, I called Suzy, but he didn't answer for the longest time. Not daring to wait, I changed clothes, grabbed my phone, and drove home myself. I have to admit, when it comes to driving, I'm decidedly average. Back in those days, relying on Qiao, I never even wanted to touch a steering wheel. After we broke up, driving always felt tinged with painful memories, so I was even less willing. Having a chauffeur handled things, so it never became an issue. After a 4 or 5 hour drive, I reached the hospital as dawn was breaking. My nerves were stretched taut. The moment I relaxed slightly while parking, I inevitably scraped the car next to me. The sound of the impact set off the other car's blaring alarm. A middle-aged man clutching a stack of documents rushed out, and we stood there staring at each other, me utterly mortified. "Are you blind?" The man scowled, examining his beloved car with evident distress. "Sir, I'm so sorry. It's an emergency. Please check the damage. I'll cover all the costs." Auntie's calls kept coming through one after another. My voice trembled as I tried to reason with him. "Could you please take down my number?" He looked thoroughly displeased. "Everyone at a hospital is in a hurry. You stay right here until the insurance company arrives." My phone kept ringing. Irritated, I answered. The woman on the other end was panicked and crying. "Qiao Qiao, are you here yet?" The man beside me muttered. "Hey, aren't you that actress? What's her name?" I ducked back into my car, scribbled my number on a notepad, and handed it to the man. "Sir, please contact me later. 178. Qiao Qiao." The man read it aloud, his voice rising in surprise. "You're Qiao Qiao. I'm your fan." I was already rushing into the hospital lobby. He was definitely not a real fan. Outside the operating room, the woman who had been sitting on a chair wiping her tears saw me and hurried over. Her crying intensified. "Qiao Qiao, what are we going to do? Your dad's been in there for hours." I stared at the red light above the operating room doors. The intense stress of the night had left my legs feeling weak. "Auntie Chin, what did the doctors say?" Sudden myocardial infarction. Chin 1 was consumed with guilt. "Last night, your dad said he wanted to read. So I went to sleep first. I never imagined he'd have this episode in the middle of the night, and even fall down the stairs." My head spun. I leaned against the wall to steady myself. The sound of her soft sobs felt like 1,000 ants gnawing at my heart. I couldn't muster a single word of comfort. I'd always held some resentment towards this woman, for no other reason than I felt she had taken my mother's place. Several hours later, Susie's call finally came. I thought he was returning my missed call, but it turned out he was calling to reprimand me. "Where did you disappear to?" His voice was hoarse from sleep, grating to the ears. "Don't tell me you haven't checked your phone. Someone posted a video online, claiming you hit their car and drove off without paying." The boss is furious. There was still no movement from the operating room. His call felt like another blow to the head. People can be truly malicious. Sensationalist hype with no bottom line never seems to end. My stomach churned. Fighting down a wave of nausea, I explained the situation to Susie. I heard rustling sounds on his end. "My God, you drove all that way alone?" "Sweetie, it's my fault. I was out entertaining clients last night, and had too much to drink. Wait for me, I'm on my way." A little past 1 p.m. after a marathon surgery, lasting over 10 hours, my dad was moved to the ICU. We still couldn't see him. Susie arrived in the evening. Finding me sitting dazedly in the corridor, he launched into another round of self-reproach before finally scolding me. "You've got some nerve. You barely ever drive, yet you dared to drive for hours on a night road. You could have at least called the chauffeur." I forgot. My mind had been a blank slate at the time, with only one thought: get home fast. Right then, Kiyi's image flashed unbidden through my mind. The truth is, while I might seem soft-hearted when I get stubborn, I can be more obstinate than anyone. Back in university when he was into racing and already winning countless awards, his fame rising, I was desperate to be part of his world. Me, who loves being pretty so much, endured the blazing sun to get my driver's license, then happily pestered him to take me for a spin. I insisted on driving myself. Who would have thought that the one time I did, I'd have an accident? The car crashed into the curb. I was completely terrified. All I remember is the moment the car lost control and veered. Qiao unbuckled his seatbelt and threw himself over me. In that accident, Qiao broke a rib. I was unscathed. He was in excruciating pain, but still forced himself to check if I was hurt. I was crying my eyes out, and he had to endure the pain to comfort me. Later, he joked, "Let's not drive anymore from now on. I'll be your chauffeur for life." That incident had scared him badly too. But in that most critical moment, his instinct was to protect me, regardless of the cost. People are creatures who can sense love. That's why, for so many years, I was willing to wait for him in that empty house. "What are you thinking about?" Suzy waved his hand in front of my eyes. I pressed my dry lips together. "I want some water." "You haven't eaten anything all day, have you?" Suzy took a thermos from his assistant and poured me a cup of water. I didn't answer, changing the subject. "Was the incident from this morning handled?" "I've already sent someone to contact the owner and negotiate. His reason for posting that video is obvious. He's probably trying to extort you." Having said that, Suzy comforted me. "It's fine, we can handle it. Go get something to eat first. I'll find the doctor to ask about the situation." I wasn't really hungry, but waiting around uselessly wasn't helping, so I got up and headed out of the hospital. Passing through the open-air parking lot, I instinctively glanced in the direction where I'd parked my car. In the early autumn evening, under a soft reddish-orange sunset, Qiao stood dressed in black, his expression cool under the fading light. His imposing height made the man in front of him seem several sizes smaller. He was speaking unhurriedly. The man kept nodding and bowing repeatedly. Finally, with a flick of his wrist, he tossed an electronic key in a smooth arc through the air. It landed in the man's hand. People can usually keenly sense when someone's gaze is on them. Qiao turned his head, and his eyes met mine from a distance. He touched the space between his eyebrows in a concealing manner, then started walking toward me. "What are you doing here?" Honestly, in that moment, my heart started racing. He didn't answer, instead studying my eyes. "Knew you'd cry, you crybaby." I was speechless. This guy was really hard to figure out. Often, he seemed to want to make me angry enough to cry. But if I actually cried, he couldn't stand it. I was just about to retort when I heard the excited voice of the man not far behind him. The man was on the phone, his voice trembling. Wife, we've hit the jackpot. You know that actress who scraped my car this morning? I posted the video, and her boyfriend came to find me." "Boyfriend?" I raised an eyebrow silently. Qiao shrugged. "I didn't say that." The man, with his back to us, was practically floating with excitement. "Her boyfriend told me to delete the video and post a clarification. In exchange, he gave me a supercar. Wife, once you're better, I'll take you for a drive in it. It's so cool." The man tossed the key in his hand as he walked away. A final sentence drifted over from the distance. "Who knows? Celebs just seem to like boyfriends who are loaded and a bit simple." My scalp went numb. I felt utterly mortified. "Qiao? The loaded and simple? Are you out of your mind?" I was shocked. A simple scrape that could have been settled for a few hundred. And he gives the guy a supercar? Even if you have money, that's not how you spend it. Besides, the guy was trying to manipulate public opinion to extort me. No wonder people said he was loaded and simple. Qiao was nonchalant. "His wife has terminal cancer. Consider it charity." "Oh, right. You're so noble, making me look particularly shallow and lacking in compassion." A small roadside diner with just a few simple tables and chairs. We were the only customers. His legs were long, stretching way out from under the table, his foot accidentally brushing against the tip of my shoe, an annoyingly distracting sensation. I pulled my leg back, trying to cover the awkwardness with conversation. "When did you get back?" "Landed at noon." He kept his eyes down, meticulously rinsing the bowls and chopsticks with hot water. "Company charity event. Was out of town." The latter part sounded like an explanation. I fell silent, unsure how to respond. Given our current relationship, he didn't owe me any account of his life. He pushed the sanitized bowl and chopsticks toward me. "Director Song is organizing a team of specialists. They'll give your father the best treatment possible. Have something to eat and try to relax a bit." The white porcelain bowl, still warm from the hot water, steamed slightly. He still remembered my little habit from before. He'd already made arrangements at the hospital. I felt a slight sense of relief. "Thank you." My mind was a tangled mess, but my words came out sounding distant. "I'll pay you back for the car." It was ultimately because of me. There was no reason for him to foot the bill. Qiao leaned back relaxed. His long arm draped over the back of the chair, a hint of teasing in his tone. "Do I look like I need money?" He certainly wasn't short of money, but his attitude was downright infuriating. Oh, not that I've never been short. A faint smile played on his lips. When I was with you, there was a time I was absolutely broke. Back then, I really wished you'd said, "Stop struggling, I'll take care of you." When was that? The idea of me supporting him was definitely a joke. What stunned me was that I had no memory of him ever being poor. The restaurant owner arrived with our food just then. As the dishes were set down, my view of Keyi's expression was obscured, his emotions unclear. He didn't answer, just gestured with his chin for me to eat. No appetite. I hadn't eaten all day. And even now I didn't feel hungry. Seeing the food actually made me feel a bit queasy. I pressed on, pestering relentlessly. "There was a time you were poor?" Kiva seemed amused by my persistence. He waved his hand. "Finish the rice in your bowl and I'll tell you." I frowned, not really understanding why I cared so much. But for the sake of an answer, I actually managed to force down an entire bowl of rice. Of course, he tricked me again. When we left the restaurant, he didn't bring up the subject again. Streetlights flickered on as night fell. We stood by the roadside watching the traffic. He finally asked, "Are you staying here for a while?" At least until my dad's condition stabilizes. CZ had just messaged me, saying he was heading back first, and that he'd already postponed my schedules for the next 2 weeks. Meaning I had a half-month break. Keitha nodded. "I'll find a place to stay for a few days. Call me anytime." "You're not going back?" His tone was flat. "I've got some free time lately. It's all the same, wherever I am." I didn't quite believe him. After a moment of silence, I couldn't hold back. "Keitha, you really don't have to do this. We're both adults. I'm not blind to his intentions." Rushing back, covered in dust and exhaustion, then hurrying straight to my hometown. What for? Cars passed by one after another on the road, their headlights casting fleeting patterns across his face. He reached for a cigarette, pulled one out but didn't light it. He rolled it between his fingers for a moment, then put it back in the pack and tossed the whole thing into a nearby bin. "It is necessary." His deep eyes reflected the passing lights. "Qiao Qiao, after we broke up, I kept thinking about where it went wrong. I was too greedy. I wanted to chase my dreams, live up to my parents' expectations, and love you, all at the same time." Gazing at the stream of traffic, he opened up. "Those years I was so busy. Training, competing, studying, work, social engagements. I tried to handle everything, and I had less and less time for you. I kept my head down, my toes scuffing aimlessly at the curb, and said nothing. I knew how sensitive and insecure you were, but I still selfishly made you wait, always thinking, just a little longer, and it'll be better." My state of mind back then was a mix of guilt and panic, afraid you'd leave. I looked across the street, deliberately misinterpreting him, and forced a smile. "So it's my fault?" "Of course not." Qiyi reached out and ruffled the back of my hair. "These past few years, whenever I thought of you, over and over, I felt like a real jerk." I shook my head gently. "That's not it. If we had to find a reason for the breakup, it might be that Keitha and I fell in love at the wrong time. He had too many things to chase after. His world was brilliant and vast, and he traveled far. Even with the constant comings and goings of girls around him, I never once suspected he'd be unfaithful. He had an absolute moral compass when it came to relationships. It's just that my world was truly too small. I was insecure to begin with, and coupled with feeling like I could never keep up with him, I felt utterly powerless. His frequent absences, my endless waiting, the grievances piled up until I just didn't want to wait anymore. That feeling was unbearable. We were from different worlds. Forcing ourselves together was a mistake from the very beginning. That was the part I least wanted to admit. So I directed all my resentment toward him. He didn't give me enough time. He neglected me too much. I had too much not reconciled, so I didn't dare look at any news about him. Seeing him again, all the resentment came roaring back. A real breakup should be quiet and peaceful. Neither of us managed that. "You resented me too, didn't you?" I said with a resigned smile. "I wasn't mature enough, and I didn't understand things well. I always looked to you for a sense of security, but I forgot that we were two separate individuals to begin with. Even as a couple, We should have had our own lives and our own thoughts. Back then, I was completely consumed by the relationship. Thinking back, it wasn't fair to him, and I let myself down too. He found this amusing. What is this, a post-breakup mutual criticism session? Let's not talk about it anymore. I shrugged, hiding my emotions. Look, after we parted, we both became better people. That's a good thing. I was no longer consumed by love, and he had learned how to love someone properly. Any regrets? I suppose there are. After all, we loved too early, before we had the best versions of ourselves to give. On the way back to the hospital, Qiao didn't speak. He must have been exhausted from the long journey. The weariness was hard to hide. I couldn't bring myself to say anything harsh anymore. You should go back. You don't need to stay with me. He leaned against the wall and glanced at me lightly. Haven't you been up all night too? And so, we were at a stalemate again. Jinwon stole glances at Qiao, tugged my sleeve, and whispered, Qiao Qiao, I can stay with him tonight. You should take your boyfriend home to get some sleep. I explained weakly. He's not my boyfriend. Oh. Jinwon advised me quietly. He came all this way. Regardless of whether he is or isn't, don't be impolite. I clearly caught the hint of a smile at the corner of Qiao's eye. Jinwon continued. The hospital director came to see me himself just now. They've already invited specialists. The old man will be fine. Go on. Get out of here. Remembering that Qiao had helped with this matter, continuing to argue with him would truly be ungrateful. Let's go, I conceded, leading the way out. He was very blunt about questioning my driving skills. Ride in the passenger seat. Having just scraped someone's car that morning, I had no grounds to protest. However, taking him home was out of the question. I tried to kick him out at every hotel we passed along the way. He kept a firm grip on the steering wheel, completely ignoring me. When the car stopped in front of my house, he let out a mocking laugh and tossed me a line. Woman, you're getting more and more naggy. With that, he walked off, leaving me standing there flustered in the wind. Sure enough, no matter how much he changed, that mischievous streak of his was here to stay. Having not slept for over 30 hours, I was out like a light the moment my head hit the pillow, even though it was barely past 7 in the evening. When I went out the next morning, Qiao was already waiting at the door. Leaning against my car, he handed me a bag. Breakfast. Picked it up on the way. I looked at the bag. It was the wonton soup I loved from that place in the East City. I lived in the South. He had specifically made a detour. How was that on the way? Thank you. I didn't know what else to say. He always had this relentless persistence once he set his mind to something. Fine, let him do as he pleased. Maybe after a while, he'd lose interest and things would quiet down. With that thought, I found I could engage with him more peacefully. Most of the time, it was full of sparks, with me constantly trying to provoke him. He didn't indulge me either, giving as good as he got. This dynamic was completely different from when we were dating, and ironically, it felt easier now. After a second surgery, my father's condition also stabilized. Seeing Qiao more often, my dad picked up on something and asked me privately, Is it still the same one from before? It was only then I remembered that my dad had met him before. At my mother's funeral, memories surfaced easily. For as long as I can remember, my parents' relationship was strained. They were both educated people, so they didn't exactly fight. But their relationship remained icy for years. My father was rarely home and seemed almost indifferent to my mother's existence. When I was little, thinking I wouldn't remember, he often muttered, Sweetie, if it weren't for you, Dad wouldn't even want to come back to this house. He had no idea I remembered it all. I was raised solely by my mother, so my emotional allegiance naturally leaned towards her. My resentment towards my father grew with each time he neglected her. He didn't care about her joys or sorrows, whether she was sick or even, it seemed, whether she lived or died. Growing up in such a cold environment, I became sensitive from a young age and deeply insecure. To put it bluntly, I was also starved for affection. So when Qiao reached out to me, I saw him as a beacon of light, chasing after him desperately, clinging to him tightly. In the second winter we were together, something happened that nearly broke me. On an ordinary afternoon, I got a call from home. My mother was in the hospital. Apparently, she had been seriously ill for a long time but hadn't told anyone. She was only discovered and hospitalized after she fell unconscious. My father didn't go into detail, but the implication was that she was hanging on by a thread, waiting for me. That winter was exceptionally cold, with a once-in-decades blizzard shutting down the city. Schools were forced to close. Qiao drove me home. The road was treacherous with wind and snow. Even with his skilled driving, the trip took over an hour longer than usual. I didn't make it in time to see my mother for the last time. In the dimly lit hospital corridor late at night, I cried my heart out, holding onto him and sobbing. Qiao, I don't have a mom anymore. It felt like the sky was falling. I've thought back to that night countless times. He held me, comforting me over and over. Be good, Qiao Qiao. You still have me. I'll always be here. Even after we parted, remembering that still brings me to the verge of tears. My mother's funeral was simple, with few people attending. Qiao stayed with me the whole time. Seeing me cry so bitterly, his own eyes reddened several times. For years after my mother's passing, I was reluctant to visit my father. When he married Qin, it was Qin who called to tell me. I had just broken up with Qiao not long before, and was crying my eyes out every night. During moments I couldn't bear it, I wanted to call Qiao, repeatedly taking his number out of the block list and putting it back in. I don't know how I managed to endure it, but I never ended up contacting him. Dad, don't worry about it. I coldly cut off my father's probing. I had no desire to discuss my love life with him at all. He awkwardly dropped the subject, not daring to press further. After staying at home for nearly half a month, Qiao proved he truly had patience, waiting until I was ready to return. As he put it, who would dare let you drive alone? The consequence of me giving in to him was that on the way back, that scoundrel Yujizu, catching wind of something, sent a message. Are you dating someone? He directly sent me a video from a gossip account. The owner of the car Qiao had given him had been paid off by the account to spill the beans, claiming the female celebrity who scraped his car had an incredibly handsome boyfriend. And he thanked my boyfriend for giving him a supercar. Although gossip account revelations are a mix of truth and lies, the public reaction was strong, with widespread speculation about whether I was dating. Of course, the predominant theory was that Qiao and I had rekindled our old flame. I naturally denied it, firing back a triple denial at Yujijo. Not back together. Not dating. Pure nonsense. Oh? Really? Yujijo leisurely warned. Qiao, be careful. Don't let me catch you. Qiao, focused on driving, glanced at me and said in a teasing tone, how about we just go with the flow? My hand holding the phone trembled slightly. Hiding my emotions, I said flippantly, can't do that. Promised not to date for 3 years. I'd have to pay up. The man beside me let out a low chuckle. Money grubber. 3 years ago, faced with a choice between the world and Qiao, I would have unhesitatingly chosen Qiao. But now, I choose money. After a moment, Qiao suddenly said meaningfully, he won't be able to collect that money. I didn't catch the deeper meaning. Of course not, since I'm not going to date anyway. We could just get married directly. I was stunned into silence. In the enclosed space of the car, even the sound of breathing seemed amplified. I suppressed my racing heartbeat, not daring to make a sound. He kept his eyes on the road ahead but opened up. Qiao, I just want you to know that from beginning to end, I never failed to cherish you. When I was with you, I was constantly striving towards you, but things often went contrary to my wishes. I couldn't be there for you when you needed me, making you endure enough grievances. The warm air from the vents was nothing compared to the ripple his words caused. But from now on, I belong completely to you. Completely to me? It was impossible not to be moved. Flustered, I turned to look out the window and said incoherently, I have to start filming right after we get back. Qiao paused, then said, okay. And just like that, the conversation ended inexplicably. I threw myself into the film set and ran into that nuisance, Sheng Jinyu, again. Before the drama was even finished filming, she was already getting hot and heavy with the male lead she was acting opposite, inseparable and oblivious to anyone else. Qiao occasionally visited the set, coming and going quietly. Once, Sheng Jinyu spotted him and dragged me away for intense interrogation. Spill it. Are you two back together? Her wording was too crude. I denied it. No. Hey. He came out of your room. Are you telling me you were just chatting under the covers? My heart skipped a beat. Would you believe me if I said he's staying in the room next door? Even though I was telling the truth, Sheng Jinyu clearly didn't believe me. Clutching her phone, she complained. That Qi the guy, he promised me a red packet if he won you back. How dare he go back on his word? Cheapskate. I was a bit curious. You knew Qi the before? Sheng Jinyu was taken aback for a moment, then seeing she couldn't hide it, admitted. I grew up practically sharing pants with Qi's cousin. Qi, the is like a half-brother to me. Hearing this, I frowned. So, last time on the variety show, you did it on purpose? Sheng Jinyu took 2 steps back before daring to speak. Not exactly on purpose. Let's just say I was helping out. I fell into thought, then after a while asked her, so these past few years you've been his spy? It was strange. Not long after Qi and I broke up, I met Sheng Jinyu. We were from different agencies but kept ending up working together. Moreover, I wasn't particularly warm towards her. But she, being brash and unreserved, never minded and often hovered around me. I never thought much about it before, but now it seemed it couldn't be a coincidence. So, she was the intelligence agent. My baby is calling me. Bye. Sheng Jinyu turned and ran. I was utterly depressed and proceeded to give Qi the cold shoulder for a full month. By the time we finished filming, it was deep winter. After nearly 4 months in the desert Gobi Desert, both Sheng Jinyu and I were in rough shape, sporting noticeably tanned skin. On my first night back in the city, before I could even catch my breath, Sheng Jinyu called and dragged me out to a KTV. In the private room, Sheng Jinyu was crying as if her heart was breaking. A young woman stood with her arms crossed, glaring at her with a mix of frustration and resignation, offering no comfort. When I arrived, Sheng Jinyu wailed even louder. Qiao Qiao, I got dumped. I wasn't surprised at all. Not only are on-set romances inherently unreliable, but Sheng Jinyu's relationships never lasted long anyway. Overcome with sleepiness, I downed a glass of iced wine to wake myself up. You dragged me here, crying your eyes out just for this? Wah, you have no heart. I just got dumped, and not only do you not comfort me, you're blaming me. TCH. The young woman unceremoniously rolled her eyes. This wasn't a relationship. It was a short-term fling. Sheng Jinyu slumped against me, crying pitifully. After her crying fit, she vowed to channel her grief into alcohol, pulling me and the young woman into a drinking game. While Sheng Jinyu was unreliable in love, her skill at the drinking game was top-notch. I was purely lucky. After over an hour, the young woman was the biggest loser, hiccuping from all the drink. Just as she was about to pick up her glass again, the door to the room opened. Spotting the newcomer, the young woman dashed over in a flash, throwing herself into the man's arms. Jojo, they're bullying me. The young woman clung to the man's neck, whining sweetly and playing the victim. Yujijo, Yujijo held the young woman in his arms, soothing her tenderly as if no one else was there. There, sweetie. Hubby will back you up. I was thoroughly disgusted. Was this really Yujijo? Sheng Jinyu, finally recovering, remembered to introduce them to me. This is the one I told you about before. Qi's cousin, Qi Ting. Yujijo's little girlfriend. The young woman blinked her eyes, smiling shyly and adorably at me. Her 2 small canine teeth particularly noticeable. Sheng Jinyu added gleefully, Qi Ting is Qi's cousin. Yujijo has known for ages. At this moment, I felt like a complete fool. To make matters worse, Qi Ting, very cute and lovely, greeted me. Hello, sister-in-law. I wanted to introduce myself earlier, but Sheng Jinyu's crying made me forget. Yujijo ruffled her hair and said, Now, you can't call her that. She says she's single. U.Z.Hi.Jo. I was so angry my teeth were chattering. Is this something a decent person would do? Yujijo, holding the young woman in his arms, said airily, Why are you so worked up? It's not like you're going to get back with Qi anyway. His words shut me up completely. I just glared at him. Boss, you stop pretending. Sheng Jinyu cut to the chase. You just want to make money off your future brother-in-law. That's downright unscrupulous. Yujijo said righteously. Don't talk nonsense. Kii's name wasn't in the agreement. I was so angry I laughed. This dog had probably long known from Qiting that Ki wanted to get back together, and quickly set a trap for me. This level of calculation was unmatched. What a businessman you are. Truly impressive. I couldn't help but sigh with genuine feeling. Qiting, confused, asked puzzledly. What's going on? Sheng Jinyu, never one to miss a chance to stir the pot, eagerly explained to Qiting. Your Jojo made your sister-in-law sign an agreement recently, forbidding her from dating for 3 years. Otherwise she has to pay a huge penalty. He wants to make money off your brother. Ah? Qiting was dumbfounded. Yujijo quickly patted the young woman's shoulder soothingly. Sweetie, don't listen to their nonsense. How could I want to make money off your brother? I wasn't targeting anyone. It was just to ensure Qiao Qiao doesn't break her public persona. Who are you trying to fool? The previously soft, delicate, and sweet young woman instantly changed her expression, getting angry like a provoked kitten. Jojo, you've disappointed me so much. How dare you scheme against my brother? I told you, my brother would definitely win my sister-in-law back. Why are you trying to stop them? Yujijo's eye twitched. So now I'm the villain preventing them from getting back together. Exactly. Qiting clenched her little fists. Immediately right now. Cancel that agreement. I figured that while Yujijo was being unscrupulous in this matter, I was the one who signed the agreement. I had to own up to it. I spoke up to ease the tension. Qiting, it's really not necessary. Sister-in-law, stay out of this. Qiting said with great seriousness. Faced with her fierce demeanor, I shot a sympathetic look at Yujijo and shut up. Yujijo helplessly rubbed his temples. Sweetie, think about it. Isn't all the money I make yours anyway? This girl isn't short of money. Qiting, her face cold, asked quietly. Do you still love me or not? For some reason, hearing this question seemed to instantly energize Yujijo. He took the young woman's hand, holding it lovingly, and nodded repeatedly. Love you, of course I love you. I'll have someone cancel that worthless agreement right away. Really? Give me a kiss, and hubby will do whatever you say. Qiting's face lit up with a smile. She stood on her tiptoes, wrapped her arms around his neck, and planted a kiss on his lips. Sheng Jinyu hugged her arms, exclaiming in disgust. I tactfully looked down. I'd done such mushy things countless times myself. Who wouldn't envy such openly displayed, preferential affection? Qiting and Sheng Jinyu continued their drinking game, while Yujijo and I sat on the sofa staring at each other. Qiao Qiao, you're something else, Yujijo said elegantly, crossing his legs, a cold smirk tugging at his lips. I responded with an extremely inelegant eye roll and couldn't be bothered to engage with him. Just then, Qiting came over. She had drunk quite a bit, her face flushed and her bright eyes shimmering. She took my hand and spoke earnestly. Sister-in-law, you have to believe me. My brother really, really loves you. I was amused by her seriousness. What, did your brother send you to lobby me? Of course not. She shook her head like a rattle drum. He doesn't like talking about your affairs with others. But I know he's been feeling terrible these past few years. People who've had too much to drink tend to be chatty. She was so eager to express herself that I didn't interrupt. My brother, since he was little, has only been stubborn about 2 things. Racing cars and you. His parents were strongly against him racing. They also gave him a hard time about being with you. He even had a falling out with his family over it. I was shocked and my heart felt conflicted, remembering what Keitha said that day about being very poor for a while. So that's what happened. But he never told me any of this. Never even showed a hint of it. He trained like crazy, constantly competing, not just for his dream, but also to earn money. He often said back then that he couldn't let you suffer with him. At this point, Qiting couldn't help but sigh. I think it's such a pity. He finally got his parents to accept his career and accept you. But you two broke up. There were secrets hidden in those past years that I had never glimpsed. Keitha used hard work and achievement to prove his dream, and 5 years to prove his love to his parents. This guy was truly foolish. He took care of everything perfectly, except he overlooked me. Perhaps because my emotions were stirred, I ended up drinking quite a bit too. Before the party was over, the three of us women were already drunk and disoriented, talking freely without regard for image, the topics becoming increasingly risk. Yu Jijo tried several times to take Keating away, but she refused each time. He could only stand with his hands on his hips and warn Sheng Jinyu and me. You two, rein it in. Don't corrupt my baby. Watch your tone. The door pushed open, and Keither walked in, bringing a chill from outside with him. Yu Jijo pushed his glasses up his nose. Hurry up and take yours away. Out of sight, out of mind. I turned my head, my vision blurry from drink. Qi Yi happened to lean down at that moment, our faces just inches apart. In the mingling of our breath, my heart grew restless. Seeing me drunk, Keither teased me mischievously. Still recognize who I am? I nodded. Bastard. Qi Yi's smile faltered for a second at his lips, then returned. Yes, I'm a bastard. He reached out to steady my wobbling head, his voice dropping to a coaxing murmur. This bastard wants to take you home now. Are you scared? His face was so close. In my drunken haze, I was inexplicably reminded of the day of my mother's funeral. After the crowd had dispersed, I was crying as if my heart would break. The orange sunset stretched endlessly, the world felt vast and silent, and beside me, there was only Keither. He held me, his own eyes reddening. He didn't say anything, but he gave me a profound sense of security. In that moment, the warmth was so overwhelming it gave me an illusion that this person would be by my side for a lifetime. Back then, only one thought filled my heart. He's the one for this life. Who knew we'd still end up walking separate paths later? My nose tingled with sourness. Keither, I miss my mom. This man had occupied my entire youth. At my most desperate moments, he had gently wiped away my tears and led me forward, step by step. Even after we parted, whenever I thought of him, my heart would burn fiercely, my eyes reddening over and over again. I missed him, yet I was afraid to see him. We who loved each other in our youth were imperfect. We loved fervently but ended bleakly. Yet, that kind of sincere, unreserved love, the kind that might only happen once in a lifetime. We strived to become better, to have the courage to hold on to it firmly. Qi Yi understood me too well. He instantly knew I was remembering the past. He cupped my face, coaxing me softly just like in the old days. Qiao Qiao, I'm here. I was truly drunk, unable to even stand steadily. I left the KTV error in the original. It likely means leaning on Keither or supported by Keither. Let's assume the intended meaning is he helped her out, perhaps half carrying her. The long street was empty in the early hours. The gentle glow from the streetlights spilled onto the pavement. The late winter wind was cold, yet an inexplicable warmth arose. I refused to get into the car, insisting he carry me home on his back. It wasn't far. I had walked there earlier. Qi indulged my whims, took off his own scarf and wrapped it around my neck. When he hoisted me onto his back, his mischievous side emerged again. Hold on tight. If you fall, I won't coax. I exhaled a puff of warm, indignant breath. You always say you won't coax, but you always end up doing it anyway. Even as I said this, my arms tightened around him. The long street was quiet, our overlapping shadows slowly moving forward. Keither? I rested my cheek against his back, watching our shadows on the ground. All these years, did you ever think about giving up on me? For a long time after we parted, I had to admit that I was wrong too. How could I place my entire life's weight on his shoulders? He would get tired too. No. The wind whistled down the alley, his words firm and clear. I've understood a principle since I was a child. Whatever you want, you must be extremely careful before making your choice. Once chosen, don't let go and love it for a lifetime. I was his firm choice. Touched, a wave of affectation came over me. Oh? So you were so sure I wouldn't find someone else? This time, Keither didn't answer immediately. After a moment of silence, he spoke in a low voice. Remember that truth or dare game we played the year we graduated? I don't remember. I was being sentimental. I loved contradicting him. He chuckled softly. I'm certain you chose truth that day. That night I had told him, I like you. He hadn't reacted. Ashamed, I found an excuse for myself. I chose dare. So he knew all along. Dare was for words spoken against one's heart. Truth was what was real. So, the girl who followed me so resolutely back then, I knew I could always reside in her heart. In your dreams. Having loved each other for so many years, we knew each other too well. It was a mutual pursuit from the very start. The process wasn't perfect, but we were both striving to be better. Meeting again, we were still each other's most certain choice. I set aside my petulance and said softly, "Let's play truth or dare again." He was amused. "How do we play?" "I lose." Qiao was rendered speechless by me. "Let's get married." He had mentioned it on the way back last time, and I had been thinking about it over and over since. I still had that same impulsive, moth-to-a-flame feeling. It had to be him. It could only be him. Qiao stopped walking. I leaned close to his ear, my voice soft and gentle. I chose truth. When the harsh winter melted away, replaced by a tipsy spring warmth, Qiao and I found ourselves on the trending searches again, for the first time in a long while. Someone had taken a photo of him carrying me home that night, and released it months later, which was rather odd. The media caught the scent and swarmed, eager for a glimpse. Even during a typically formal personal interview, the host couldn't resist her curiosity and asked gossipily, "Miss Qiao, are you and Mr. Qiao really dating?" I raised my hand. On the slender finger of my ring finger, a plain silver ring sat, perhaps too understated. "We're not dating, we're married." The host, getting the scoop firsthand, gasped, covering her mouth. "What a wonderful surprise, Mr. Qiao works fast." I smiled faintly. Couldn't be helped. Lost a game of truth or dare. When I got home that evening, Qiao was already waiting outside the door, looking at his phone. Under the swaying shadows of trees in the spring night, the man stood tall in the faint light. His loose sweater revealed a glimpse of his pale collarbone. In his features, the untamed spirit of his youth was still faintly visible, now mingled with a lazy maturity. As the car stopped, he had already put his phone away. I took his hand to get out, and as another likely error, meaning, threw myself into his arms. Let's assume the intended action is an affectionate embrace. He opened his arms and caught me, not forgetting to tease. "You've gotten heavier." "Say that again, and I'm skipping dinner tonight." I frowned and glared at him. After all, a female celebrity loves beauty unto death. My mistake. He apologized quickly, his expression sincerely indicating, "Eat more, I can carry you." "Fine, you're forgiven." I clung to him, wrapping my legs around his waist so he had to carry me inside. He had probably seen my interview. As he walked back, he joked, "Saying it like that, people will think anyone can get a wife just by winning truth or dare." I humphed. "No one else is as improper as you." The wind rustled through the courtyard. The warm light at the entranceway was inviting. The shifting night shadows played at the corners of his eyes and brows, stirring a restless itch in my heart. His lips came down on mine. "Let me teach you something even more improper,"